Space Cowboy Books presents Simultaneous Times, a science and speculative fiction podcast. Short stories to stir the imagination by contemporary authors.
The Wait List, or Today is a Good Day to Die, by Jiang, with music by Onirathopter, read by Jean-Paul Garnier. You tell Winnie that you were going to die next week, so she'd give up her limited edition ticket to the only experience of the century. And you don't want to be called a liar when she discovers you walking out of your house next week all healthy and well and alive. So you have 1 week to figure out who's next up on the wait list to die, so you can switch spots with them, because you aren't allowed to be dead until it's your turn. There are mortal consequences. Or so you've heard. Something like serving eternity in one of the torture levels of the underworld, which may or may not include having your limbs torn off and your head decapitated, or your body tossed in a boiling basin of inferno, or being skewered alive. Yes, it might be easier perhaps to escape to another country. Pay to have your identity remade. Wipe yourself from existence, or at least from Winnie. Or set up a funeral and invite your mutual friends. But that would take too long, and that would be too expensive. And in this economy, there's no way you could do expensive. But to find out who's next on the list can also be quite expensive. So instead, you track down a friend of a cousin of a sister of a mother of an adopted uncle who has connections to the wait list, who is apparently part demon, even though their name is Angelica, and their last name is Saint, and their middle name is Virtuous. But that doesn't matter, because they owe your mother's sister's daughter for some generational favor that needs to be cashed out within 50 years, and the expiry date is on Wednesday, and tomorrow is Monday. According to Angelica, Virtuous Saint, Winnie's next on the list but doesn't know it. So you return that limited edition ticket to the only experience of the century, because the experience is on Friday and she'll be dying on Sunday. She asks you why you're giving back the ticket when you're dying next week. So you tell her a fortune teller told you that it would be during the experience of the century when you would die, and besides, you have constipation. She asks you if your constipation will last the rest of the week. You say you're not sure, because how could anyone know such a thing for certain? She tells you that you can keep the ticket just in case, but you tell her that your memory's bad. You'll probably misplace it anyway, so she should keep it instead. So she does. And as she's walking away from you, you call Angelica Virtuous Saint and ask them who the next on the wait list is after Winnie. You thought they'd put up more of a fight, but they don't. But when they tell you, you understand why. It's you. You're after Winnie. In your mind, you weigh the pros and cons of running after Winnie, telling her you want the ticket after all, that you don't in fact have poor memory, a half-truth, nor constipation, a whole lie, and you don't even know where to find a fortune teller. Okay, you saw an ad last week on the bulletin board for a 60% clearance discount on palm reading because the lady's moving away to Scotland and wanted to pay off what was left of her rent before leaving. But then you'd really be a liar. So you ask Angelica Virtuous Saint who the next person after you is on the list. What is the name of someone in the middle of the list? and who is at the very end of the list. But this time, they refuse to tell you. You cuss them out before hanging up and chasing after Winnie, because you guess you're okay with being a liar after all. Plus, you'd really like to know what exactly the only experience of the century is, because all the advertisements have the name and information blocked out, with a few pull-off, hand-scrawled phone numbers attached to the bottom, like an old marketing tactic. But by the time it's Friday, you still can't find Winnie, and the only experience of the century is over. And by Sunday, somehow, you're dead. The Twain Shall Meet by Brent A. Harris, with music by Fog Machine, read by Jenna Hanchey.
Susan shot upright on her bed with a start. It was close to lunar 8 p.m., and she'd procrastinated for so long, she'd almost forgotten about her homework due in the morning, first thing. Her teacher always had the class bring up their homework on their pads at the beginning bell. Mr. Harding would walk the room and hand out demerits for anyone without it. And Susan couldn't have that. Even one demerit for the whole school year would ruin her perfect record for 6th grade. She was supposed to write about her favorite author. She looked at the clock on the pad in her hands. A sudden flare of fear made her skin prickle. She only had 10 minutes or so before her parents would come to check on her. She had to get her answer finished by then. The problem was, she didn't have a favorite author. Who did? Who read anymore anyway, except for the stupid short stories she had to read in class? And she wasn't going to pick any of those writers as her favorite. It's not like anyone liked reading Ray Bradbury anyway. Yuck. The short videos that flashed across her pad were much more entertaining to her. And shorter. Besides, she couldn't choose a favorite author if she didn't have one. That would be a lie. From her bed, Susan switched off one pad and picked up another. The one from her school, the one she had to do the assignment on, wasn't as nice. What's worse, it was locked from any of her favorite sites, like the one where she could talk to Grammy, who always had so many amazing things to tell her. She flicked it on, waiting for what seemed like an eternity for it to load. The temptation to pick up her other pad, pulling at her, until finally, the school's sanctioned search bar came up on the otherwise dull gray screen. Susan had an idea. She had just under 10 minutes to start and finish her homework before her parents came. If the slow crawling pad would hurry up, as she typed and searched through sites for famous authors, she could finish up just in time. But even that was proving too slow. Frantic eyes flashed across her screen until she found a solution to her immediate problem on the sidebar. Hello? Susan spoke the question into her pad's microphone. She had wasted no time clicking the random author button. It was all part of her spontaneously formed plan. Why should she have to choose her favorite author from so many when the pad could just pick one for her? Easy. A raspy voice choked out, "Hello?" in response. A body came into view, dressed in all white with bushy eyebrows and a bleach-white mustache. The figure was patting down every pocket on his crisp white suit. Susan thought she recognized him as the old guy from the Kentucky Fried Chicken logo at the station's food court. She didn't know he had written books, too, in addition to frying fast food. "This doesn't look like a telephone to me." The man patted his pockets down, as if searching for something. "Telephones. Damnable devices. Blasted things. They should have gone with Ahoy and left me out of it entirely." It was hard to see the man in white against the blank background, so she clicked a button and made it blue instead. With another swipe of the settings, she included giant kitty faces in the air above the man. Everything was better with cats. They even matched her blue and white kitten bedsheets. She also thought about giving the old man a cat face filter, but that would have been silly. This was homework, serious business, when she was doing it, and she only had 8 minutes left to get this assignment finished. Started. The sudden shift to a blue background and the floating cat heads stopped the search for whatever the author was looking for. He looked lost and dazed. "First, I've misplaced my cigar. Or rather, I should say, my cigar misplaced me. Then this?" he asked, gesturing around. "Young lady, care to explain?" Susan shuddered. The pad almost slipped from her hands. Most of her school-sanctioned sites simply gave rote answers. It was only on her personal pad that people, like her Grammy, spoke directly to her. This person, whoever he was, seemed to be more aware? She scrolled the sidebar to find out more. Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain, she said out loud. A writer from Earth, mid-19th to early 20th century. That was ancient, even older than Bradbury. Maybe she still had time to search up a different author? "My dear child, you may call me anything. Twain, Clemens, a hack. I've heard it all and have given due riposte. But I am at a loss to call you anything but child. Your name, perhaps?" "Susan," she said, "but people call me Susie." "Susie." Twain took a moment of considerable silence. Couldn't he hurry up? Intriguing. But when he said those words, he seemed sad. "So, what are we doing here, Susan?" "I need to tell my class about my favorite writer." "Indeed, I could live all day on a compliment such as this." His eyes lit up, beautiful beams of light gray and blue. "Well, I mean..." She shied away sheepishly at her mistake. "I've never actually read anything you've written. I thought you could convince me why you should be my favorite author." She smiled at her smart recovery. At least she hoped she had fooled the old man. Old people weren't very smart. Except for her Grammy. She was the smartest, especially with her clever stories. The man's bushy white eyebrows bent into crooked lines. While I do feel an otherworldly urge to grant your request, there are more important considerations to, consider." Susan glanced at her other tablet. She had a few minutes left. If her parents walked in on her doing homework, she could lose her pad privileges tomorrow, a fate worse than death. She didn't have time to argue. "Summarize your work," she said, before tacking on the word. "Please?" "No." Susan scratched her head. No program has ever told me no before. She sighed, too. Time was ticking. Except for my Grammy, when I ask her for another story past my bedtime. "Your grandmother?" Susan nodded her head vigorously at the camera. "She taught me how to bake cookies, and she tells me stories of trolls and traitors and this warrior princess who lived on Mars." She didn't have time to talk about all her Grammy's tales. Back to work. She lives inside my pad, like you. "Cookies and grandmothers, I understand. The rest is incoherent nonsense, like waking up from a rather strange dream. A program, you say? I'm long gone, dead in dust. My grave, no doubt, a urinal for some. But I'm here now." I think so? She didn't completely understand how it worked. For her Grammy, the program took her words from life. She was sure that's what this program was doing. But he must have been a very argumentative man. The author took her response in with an audible and throaty sigh. His eyes went distant, as if he had left the screen to go check on something. "Interesting. It seems like I died a considerable age ago. But here I am. Again. I must confess I don't enjoy this. Not at all." "Could you just give me a summary of your writing and why someone like me would like you?" Susan shook her head, impatiently checking the time. A paragraph, maybe two, was all she needed from the stubborn chicken fryer. Were all writers like this? "You're just a program, and you're supposed to help me." "No," came the same response as before. "This is no good at all." Twain turned his gaze upwards, as if the giant cat heads above him had cast kitty judgment on him. "No good at all. I don't wish to be here." He froze, locking gray eyes with hers. "Susan, you must put an end to this. Cease this." "I can't," she said. What did he mean by that? Close out the program? There wasn't enough time to come up with another author. Terminate him, as in ending his program? She couldn't do that either. For one, that would be like losing her Grammy. For another, she didn't know how. "I won't." The writer straightened his spine and shoulders. "Well, if I am a program, I should be able to continue this argument in more tolerable comfort." A moment later, a lit cigar appeared in his hand. He sucked it in. "Much more tolerable," he said, the raspiness in his voice taking center stage. The several cat heads in the sky disappeared as several kittens began to purr at his feet. He sat on a wicker chair with his legs crossed, surrounded by a menagerie of greenery. A gray kitten pawed at his legs. Another kitten simply walked away with indifference. To that one, Twain's attention was drawn. I do admire a creature so resistant to control. Comfortable? Susan sighed. None of this mattered to her. Not even his manipulation of the program. Okay, now tell me why people like you as an author. Oh, I assure you, they don't. I don't understand, but explain quickly. My parents will be in here any minute, and then it's lights out. Ah, a procrastinator, a lover of cats, and a troublesome streak in you. You do indeed remind me of... He puffed his cigar. Charcoal gray smoke poured out. To answer your question, Susan, I've noted that since the time of my programming to now, you are the only person to have accessed me. For that reason alone, I would say plenty of people have forgotten about me, as I suppose time deals the same hand to everyone. In that way, we are all too equal under the heavens. Susan winced, hoping he wouldn't notice that it was only by random chance that she had chosen him. She herself had never even heard a reference to a Mark Twain, not even on The Simpsons, at least not recently, and they'd been on long enough to reference everyone. But your books? My books were mere contrivances for entertainment, a palette for me to color how I saw the world. Perhaps my perspective served me well in life, but it has done me a disservice in death. A death which seems premature given the moment. I would think that everyone wants to live forever. That's what my Grammy told me, in one of her stories about an immortal genie. She never wanted to die. I'm sure she did not, my dear child, the man said. I am sorry for her passing. But I came in with Halley's Comet and left the same way. The comet's tail was the end of mine. I never asked for nor wanted this ungodly resurrection. One of the kitties, with velvety black fur and a white splotch on its chest, bounded onto his lap and settled in for slumber. I'm sorry. Susan soured her usual smile into a frown. It was too late now. She had upset this old man, her parents were coming, and she was going to earn her first demerit. She hadn't meant for any of this to happen, and she was still no closer to finishing her assignment. I need you to do this for me, the grumpy man argued. I can manipulate my program only so much. I can't self-cease. And I've no wish to dwell here for all eternity. To be accessed at will by strangers I'm all too tempted to sharpen my acerbic wit with, like a blade upon a whetstone. His face softened, blue eyes graying. I've shown kindness to you because you remind me of... Susan heard footsteps from down the hall. I just need to know about you, she whispered. But hurry. I'll tell you what you need. But you have to stop this existence of mine so that I'm not reduced to this hell. He looked at the screen pleadingly. Please. A large rectangular red button appeared on the screen that read, Erase Program. But I don't want to do that. You're alive as far as I'm concerned. I can't. I won't. You must, Susan. She was out of time. It was this or nothing. End a program she had begun to like and admire for his grandfatherly charm, or face the disappointment of her parents and Mr. Harding. She couldn't decide. It was like the ending of one of the stories her grandmother had. A rattle of the knob made her choice. "Why are you my favorite author, Mr. Twain?" she asked desperately. "I'm not," he answered assuredly. "But you've already told me who is." Susan's eyes widened as it dawned on her suddenly. She felt so stupid right now, but also so relieved. He was right. She had known the answer all along. "Keep her alive by keeping her stories in your heart and passing them on to others," the author said, with a heartfelt wave of his hand. "And thank you, Susie, for giving me a brief reunion with someone I cherished, and for respecting an old geezer's final wish." She tilted her head down and, pausing a moment, hit the red button. The program pixelated and broke apart as she tossed the pad aside. She pulled the sheets over her, feigning sleep as two shadows fell into the room from the opened doorway. She was happy and grateful for the conversation with the strange man, and secure with the knowledge of her favorite author tucked inside her heart. With an excitement to tell everyone in her class tomorrow about her Grammys stories.
In this episode of Simultaneous Times, you heard The Waitlist, or Today is a Good Day to Die, by Jiang, with music by Onirathopter, and The Twain Shall Meet, by Brent A. Harris, with music by Fog Machine. Theme music by Dane Lesko. Be sure to visit us at our bookstore in Joshua Tree, California, or visit us online at spacecowboybooks.com.